only 4 black grandmasters in the whole world. It is a symbol of a still very big discrimination which goes far beyond chess.
I'm not sure discrimination is the right word, but there are certainly some inequities that exist that contribute to this issue. It's sad for me, as you said, 25 years after becoming a grandmaster, that no other black person in the U.S. has achieved this goal, and only 4 worldwide, myself among them, has achieved this. So I'm working on it. I'm definitely getting involved with the young people who are stars of the game, who hope to be stars of the game and achieve this goal, not just as a grandmaster, but one of the top players. You don't see any black faces at the top of chess. It just doesn't exist. And so the talented ones need support, not just financial support, but advice. The path to becoming a grandmaster is a torturous one, and it requires a lot of intense preparation. It requires money for travel, but it also requires the kind of insight as to the difficulties one faces, because everybody who's trying to become a grandmaster, let's be real, faces these difficulties. But it's nice to have sort of inside look as to the kind of things you need to be aware of, and especially for the parents, because they're the ones who have to navigate it the most for the child.
You were born in Jamaica.
Yes.
You grew up in Brooklyn, New York.
Brooklyn all day, yes.
I guess your way to success was not easy at all.
It was different. It was different. I started playing chess seriously at age 14. I knew the rules, but I didn't know anything about chess tournaments. I didn't know about scholastic events, the educational value of chess. Oh, that was nothing. It was me, 14 years old, my friends at school, falling in love in high school, falling in love with chess, that is, and playing all the time, and then going out to the parks in Brooklyn where there were the hustlers and the trash talkers, and getting my lunch money taken by the hustlers. But being so immersed in the game that all I did was study chess all day, all night. It was school as an afterthought. I don't like spreading this to when we're talking to kids, but it was school as an afterthought and chess really as my job once I got hooked. And it was my life. I didn't even know it would be any kind of money in chess. Who knew that I could make a whole career out of it? But fortunately, my brain just ate up everything that I was studying, and it wasn't until I was 2,400 and 21 years old that I even ever had a trainer in chess, because my parents couldn't afford it. But somehow I got lucky.
Let's go to what you say in your books. For instance, your concept of advanced beginner reminds me of a quote from Socrates, the very famous Greek philosopher, when he said, "I only know I know nothing." Is chess a perfect field to develop that idea?
Absolutely. When I first became a grandmaster, I have to say, I got a little bit depressed after the celebration, of course, because you kind of think you've arrived somewhere, and what you realize you arrived at is this point where there's vastly much more that you don't know than you do know that's still ahead of you. And now I've come to just accept this as a standard truth, that we as grandmasters are simply advanced beginners. We know some things. We may even know quite a few things. But the engines show us that we're potzers. I mean, it's just clear. You think you know the move, and then the engine goes, no, there's this, and this, and then there's that, and that counters what you did. And there are just so many more patterns. I remember I was showing a puzzle. Actually, I gave a question to some beginners over at Chessable, where I do videos. I do these training courses. And I asked this question: what is the least amount of material that you need to checkmate a king in the middle of the board? There's a bare board, put the king in the middle of the board. And what do you need to checkmate? And I thought I had the answer, which I thought was 7. And one of the beginners, the absolute beginner, her name is Anya, she said, she's a designer, she's a graphic designer. She said, couldn't you just do it with pawns? And I sat there and I thought about it, and I was like, oh, you're right. Like here, I'm a grandmaster kind of casually lecturing to these lower-rated players, and the worst player in the group, who's a graphic designer, saw something else in her head. And I just smiled at it, and I ended up creating a study around this concept. But you have to be open. You have to be open. There's so many truths in chess. It's never ending, and we are all just beginners, advanced beginners at that.
Yeah. And in chess, more than in any other sport, I think you can't blame defeat to the arbiter or, it's raining.
Oh, you could. Definitely.
You shouldn't. Let's say it that way. You shouldn't do it. Okay, or what a bad luck I had, and so on. Therefore, the loser is the one who is learning more.
Losing is learning. I tell my students that all the time. Losing is learning. It's a part of our game, and we all lose. Even Magnus Carlsen loses. But the winner learns too. I had a student by the name of Chris. He had just come out of national championships. First round, he'd never been to a national scholastic championships. He comes out of the first round, and he's won his game. 15 minutes it took. But it was so fast. I said, wow, this is a classical game, 15 minutes. So I'm expected to see, like, the kid fell for maybe a scholar's maid or quick, easy tactic. And he showed me his score sheet and the second score sheet and the next score sheet. It was 80 moves that he had written down on his sheet. I said, 80 moves? How did you play 80 moves in 15 minutes? And he's all smiles, and he said, well, she just played quickly. And I said, you shouldn't be playing this fast. And I said, your friends or your teammates are all there really working hard. You should be thinking about every move. And he was so upset that I hadn't applauded his victory that he started crying in the middle of a Skittles room with parents around, everybody. Like, who's this coach making his student feel bad for winning a game? So I took him outside, cleaned him up. I said, listen, I really appreciate the fact that you won, but you have to stop and slow down. It's important because you're going to make mistakes in future games. Well, he punished me for that because every single game after that, he was the last person out. And he ended up going 5-2, and the next year he was captain of my team. So yeah, you can learn from losing, but certainly you can learn from winning also.
Mm-hmm. And being flexible in today's world is probably one of the most important virtues for any human being in a world which is changing very fast, probably faster than ever before. And chess develops very much this flexible thinking. For instance, if we play a game for several hours, in different moments, just one move from you or from myself will force us to change our evaluation and the planning and so on. And don't forget, we have to do that flexible thinking, fast because the clock is running as well. So, looks like flexible thinking is one of the capacities you can develop more with chess, right?
Yeah, flexibility is actually one of my favorite virtues in life. I had to admit that even in a dating scene, like the first quality I look in a lady is how flexible is she? And I mean mentally, that is. Flexibility is important. There's a quote, it's better to have a bad plan than no plan. Mm-hmm. That's like one of the worst quotes in chess history. I hate that quote. Because a bad plan, you're going to lose the game with a bad plan. But no plan, you can wait. You can be flexible. You can take the moment to see what your opponent does and then change accordingly. Exactly. And so to me, the biggest quality in chess is actually not looking far into the future, but absolutely situational awareness. Mm-hmm. How aware are you in the moment? And how ready are you to go in any direction? That to me is the main quality as a chess player, the strength of strong players, that they can have an idea, study it, plan it out, and then the very next move say, that's garbage, because my opponent just did something else that changed everything, and proceed accordingly. Mm-hmm.
However, the concept of transfer, what you learn from chess to your normal life, is much debated among scientists. In my opinion, in chess, there is transfer, except if there is obsession. If you are obsessed with chess, and chess is the only thing in your life, you don't have any other field to transfer what you are learning from chess. But you say in your books that, exactly you say, if you are, let me quote you, you state that obsession is almost indispensable to be a grandmaster. Therefore, the transfer of what chess teaches us does not include the grandmasters?
Well, it's funny, Magnus was asked this himself. And he said, they asked him, what did chess teach you? And he said, chess has taught me nothing. You know, typical Magnus, tongue-in-cheek kind of comment. And then he said, well, actually, it has taught me how to make important decisions with incomplete information under severe time pressure. That's like one of the biggest things you'll ever learn in life.
Yes.
All the big decision makers, business moguls and the like, have to do that. And Kasparov, in his book, How Life Imitates Chess, had that statement where he said, and this is the thing, he said, I didn't think about what chess taught me while I was playing. While I was playing, I was trying to crush people, I was trying to win games. It was only after my career was over and then I could reflect back on what it did that I realized how much it had. And I think that that is the case for grandmasters. Exactly. We're busy trying to checkmate people, but when it's all said and done, when we look back, we realize this game transformed us in more ways than we can count.
It's a pity, Maurice, we don't have more time, but I think that this conversation has been very inspiring for a lot of people, so I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.